Guys, shh. I think they have been watching us all the time. I think the big camera companies have been spying on us all the time. Each time when I go online, I get so many good offers for cameras and camera gear that sometimes it seems that I just can't resist of buying shit and having so much shit at home. And you know what, guys? I really think we should reconsider how we should approach the video making in general. Let's go.
So, when you're committing yourself in doing videos every single day, long form videos every single day, you just go back to all the possible topics you have ever thought about you can do the videos on. And today I want to make a video about some of camera gear that I have and my approach to video making. And let's agree on one thing. I don't think I am right. I don't think that I am more right than someone else. I don't think that my approach is better. But it's my approach. And this is how I see things. This is how I see creativity. This is how I see filmmaking. As you may notice, all big brands, not only big brands, but in general, social media spies on us. I don't see any conspiracy in that, and if being honest, I'm guilty of that myself, not only being affected by most of those commercials, but each time when I have a possibility to use the benefits of the way approaching potential customers, like the possibilities that we have now, I'm using them as well. But we live in the times where our data, what we talk, what we think, it's always exposed. And it's so easy to get to us. It's so easy to sell to us anything. I'm sure most of you, the same as me, had those situations. You talk about, about holidays, going to Spain, and the next second you see the ads about that country, about hotels in that country on all social media. So I think that's the same with camera gear, with filmmaking, with equipment that you need to use. And I believe that most of the equipment that is offered for selling is overrated. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about professional use. Yes, for professional use, you have to be certain in the gear that you're using. For professional use, you have to be sure that the gear, that the equipment that you have is not going to let you down in any case. That's why you need cameras that are good with low light. That's why you need cameras that have two SD slots or possibility connecting the external SD drive. But not professional use. It's the equipment we use for photography, for videography, as an amateurs, or for YouTube or social media. And I do street photography pretty often. I go outside, I go in the cities on the streets, and pretty often I meet other people doing photography. And the thing that surprises me is seeing so many people with expensive, good cameras doing everyday random photos. And there's nothing wrong with that. But every camera, every equipment has its own specs, has its own place. And if you're buying a Ferrari just to drive, to grocery and back, I don't know. Is that a good use of the gear that you have? Is that a good use of the equipment that you have? That's my opinion. And if you have the possibility, if you have the money, that's all on you. It's okay. I am guilty of being cheap AF. By saying cheap, I like cheap things. If being more precise, I don't like to spend money on things that they don't have additional value. Like if I do street photography, I need the camera that's the best, the most useful for that case that I'm using it. And today, like, I don't know, I want to show you a couple of cameras that I'm using, want to expose my ideas behind that equipment, and I don't know, just want to share with you. So first of all, what I want to show you is my main camera and my main video camera that I use for video, that's never letting me down, and it always delivers what I need, what I expect from that camera. It's like perfect camera for vlogging. It's perfect camera for video making as an amateur. And it's Sony ZV-1 first edition. And this camera, it has 1-inch sensor. If being honest, I don't believe that the gear can save you and help you deliver the best image. Let's be clear, guys, and let's be honest. What is the most important part in video making, in photography? A, it's the composition, and B, it's always the lighting. You know, so many people get that wrong, focusing just on the gear, focusing just on the cameras, and not thinking about the lighting. Like, I can tell you for sure, not speaking about professional usage, you can make a great video just by having the proper and right lighting. I have just simple photo light, which is more than enough for this kind of videos. And you know, for even if you saw my videos before, I was using also this cheap simple light. It's, I don't know if even it has a name. I bought it from AliExpress. And this light delivers like as good as it should, and it just gives me the light, it gives me everything I need. The main thing in making any possible content in photography, the main thing in videos, it's always the content, the story. Because doesn't matter if it's photography, doesn't matter if it's video, it's all about storytelling. You know, the difference between, like, that's my opinion, you know, the difference between video storytelling and photography storytelling, it's only about the frames. In one way, making videos, it is more harder, it's more difficult, because you have to have certain setup. There are so many variables in making a video. And when you're making a photography, it's always just one shot, but you only have one shot, you only have 1 second to make the right impression, to make the right story. So, you know, both video and photography has its differences and has its similarities. So I'm a pretty cheap guy. I like cheap cameras. Even my Sony ZV-1, by the time I bought it, like I bought it maybe year and a half ago, last year, the price was 450 euros or 500 euros. I mean, it's really cheap, one of the cheapest camera you can buy, and it delivers like even better than I expected. You know, if you go through my videos and you would see the best footage, be sure this footage is made by this little nice good Sony. If going to my favorite cameras, my favorite camera for photography, my most favorite camera unexpectedly, it's my old Sony Alpha 65, which has the price somewhere between 100 and 200 euros. You, of course, some of those cameras have 300 euros with additional equipment if you see on different ads. But we have to consider the price range for this camera between 100 and 200 euros. It's old 2012 it's 2012 or 11 camera, and it's pretty old. It's not professional, it's a semi-professional camera, but the thing I like about this camera the most, because it has all the dials exposed, all the dials that I need, and because I know this camera really good, I can quickly adjust any setting I need without even looking at this camera. So this is my go-to camera. okay, not go to, but I would say my most favorite camera for photography, for any kind of photography, because I really know how it delivers, I know how it acts in different conditions. And I can assure that that's my main idea about all the cameras. The best camera is the one that you know the best. The better you know the camera, the better photos you're gonna get out of it, the better videos you're gonna get out of it. Of course, this audio is also pretty good for the videos because it has mic, but the quality of the videos are not the best. But sometimes I make really good videos by having really nice old lenses and working only with manual focus, but it's just, just as additional thing to this camera. But the most surprising thing, speaking about street photography, I noticed that my main and favorite cameras for street photography are just simple point and shoot camera. And my favorite mostly used camera is this old Lumix TZ40. This camera, I bought it, I don't remember, maybe 20 euros, 30 euros or something. But the best thing about this camera, when you're outside, when you're in the streets, and you're making photos with point and shoot camera, the most looks you can get from the people around you is you're a tourist, like they think you're a tourist and they're not paying attention. Because when you go with the serious camera, like with really serious, like looking camera outside, people, if you take a pictures, people always stop, and pretty often that might ruin the whole shot. That might ruin, the moment, the second. And with camera like those, you would be surprised. I shoot JPEGs with those cameras because you don't need to do much editing on those on the street photography if you catch the good lighting. And so surprisingly, those Panasonic Lumix has such nice colors in it. Sometimes I just do the photography and post straight away how it looks straight out of the camera. And if you're doing, I don't know, for social media for yourself, don't make it too complex. Sometimes, of course, at the beginning when I started doing photography, I was trying to do only RAWs, to do as much editing as possible, to try to play myself as a professional. But at the end of the day, all it matters is just the image. All it matters is just the story in the image. Sometimes the most grainy, the worst quality photography might be the best, because sometimes bad quality is also an information, because sometimes bad quality might be the part of the story. I have a couple of old Nikon ones which has incredibly great stabilization, incredibly great autofocus. And those cameras are old cameras. Those are like also maybe 2012 cameras, but they have such a good autofocus. And for those who are just starting, and the price range for those cameras might be from 50 to 150 euros. One downside of those cameras, the original lenses, 10-30 millimeters, they are pretty defective pretty often, so you have to be aware of that and be able to use either manual lenses, old lenses, or just to buy more lenses for those cameras. But in general, that's a good piece and piece of camera. And the color science in these cameras, they are amazing. They're so underrated cameras that like, it's so good because you can get those for really cheap. Also, I have a couple of good old small Sonys. This is Sony NEX5N, which works fantastically for videos with old manual lenses. I have several old lenses. I have one old Soviet lens, one old Japanese lens. And those lenses deliver really good image. Of course, they're also good for street photography, but for street photography, I usually more often like to use autofocus, but for videos, sometimes manual focus is the best, even for an amateur video, if you want to deliver the most cinematic image. And surprisingly, those old Sonys, and of course, one of my most favorite, Sony Alpha 5000, which is so underrated and is considered as a shitty camera. So you can also get it with original lens, which has pretty decent quality no matter what others say. You can get this camera for also 100, 200 euros, which I believe is pretty cheap for camera quality like that. Only downside for video making that those cameras don't have mic input. Because if you make videos, if you make vlogging, if you make any sort of talking videos where you are talking, you need good audio. Of course, you can cover it doing an additional audio, like for example, even sometimes what I do, I just record the audio to my phone and then I just edit it in post. And it might sound pretty okay. So I mean, there are solutions, but like I use also those Sonys pretty often for videos, like the videos that I did, my shorts, like music videos that I did. Pretty often I use them because they are cheap, they are simple. I'm not afraid to damage them, and sometimes because let's say 90% of the content I'm making by myself, sometimes my lovely wife just has to help me. But most of the videos I'm making by myself, so I love to have the gear, the camera, that I really know how it works, and I'm not afraid to damage. So sometimes those cheap Sonys, old Sonys, are such a good use, and they deliver the image, which I'm so satisfied, and it surprises me all the time. Next thing, what I like really a lot is different action cameras. I have one sad thing. In spring, I lost my favorite Osmo action camera, which I can tell you has one of the best all DJI Osmo action cameras. It's my opinion. They have fantastic image. They have fantastic colors, and I'm sure I'm soon buying another one. Osmo Action. And for the beginners, for those who are starting filming, you are not too much into cinematic videos, and even if you're in cinematic videos, like people often think that cinematic videos where you have bokeh, you have blurred background, but just try to see one thing. When you watch movies, how many of those movies have really blurred background? Sometimes, think about it. Why movie directors, the studios have to invest so much money in creating the whole set and then making it blurry? No. Most of the films, they have only 10-20% of the scenes with the blurry background, and it's not the thing that describes video cinematic. The cinematic video is where you have good composition and good storytelling. So, if getting back to action cameras, of course my favorite, I don't have it now, and soon I'm buying another one, but I also really love old Sony action cameras. Because surprisingly, of course, not only old, but there are new ones, but surprisingly, those old Sony action cameras have fantastic stabilization, which is really important for any action camera. So comparing with other cameras from the same time, stabilization is just awesome. They have wide angle view, which is also fantastic when you do vlogging. And this Sony action camera also has a mic input, so it also delivers pretty good sound. If you have additional mic, you can plug it, you get like really perfect sound, really good sound, which is more than enough for vlogging. So those type of cameras, they usually have price range depending on the camera, but any old Sony and new Sony action cameras I would recommend for anyone. The price starts from 50 euros, which is really surprisingly, and even if some of them don't have mic input, they have pretty good and pretty okay internal microphones, which record pretty decent sound, which is really enough for most of the videos that you do. You can also edit a little bit in post and have like really good decent sound, because in any talking videos, the image, let's be honest, the quality of the image always goes second. The sound goes the first, the lighting and the story goes second. Of course, story goes first, like, let's be honest, but good story without good sound, it's nothing, but good sound is even more important, because if you have really good sound, Like sometimes you can deliver really shitty image and it still will be watchable. And of course I use my phone. You need to have some lighting. You always need to have some portable lighting that you can carry with yourself. You need to have any sort of mic. But it's not about the gear. It's always about the story. It's always about the delivery. And you know, for me, I believe that challenging myself, the idea I had going into photography, the idea I had going into video making, I decided that first of all, and of course, I need to remind you, I'm a cheap guy. I don't like to spend a lot of money on any shit. But anyway, I had this idea that I need to learn to use old gear. I need to learn to film and to make a photography with all the cameras. Because if you start using the new ones, which has fantastic features, some of them, they just do all the job instead of you. And I think we need to learn to do that ourselves. And only then, when we feel that the level that we have is enough for better camera, or if we start making money out of it, I believe we can invest more. But that's just my opinion, guys. And I really wanted to share with you like what I think about those cameras. And I really believe, and I see that it's pretty long video for today, and I really believe that we all have different opinions, and it's okay. That's just my opinion, which suits me. And that's it for today. I accomplished my goal. I made a video which I had to make. Like, I share what I have, some of the cameras that I have, and I really hope that at least for some of you that might be useful. So thanks for everyone who is watching. Thank you for everyone who watched my videos before, who are watching my video now. Like, thank you. I appreciate that. Looking forward to your comments, looking forward to your ideas, looking forward like to your critique. Thanks again. Have a good evening and see you tomorrow.